Right, we are group 3, consisting of Sabina, Yanyan, myself, Martin, Govindan, and Babak. We are now presenting our contribution to the Sustainable Development Goals and the utilization of our research. And before we get to the goals, you should probably know a bit about what our projects consist of. And more or less, I would say all our projects are, in a way, encompassed in this picture, which shows a submerged floating tunnel. And we've heard a lot about wind loads and wave loads and whatnot. And my contribution to this project consists of an accidental load, which is an internal explosion to this kind of structure. What happens to this structure if such an event were to take place? For instance, a tanker with gasoline colliding, or even a terrorist attack. So my contribution consists of making models, both experimental and numerical, for validation of computations of this big and full-scale structure.
Hey, I'm Sabina, and my project is related with microbial degradation of the concrete. Different cases of the microbial degradation of the concrete was recognized in several subsea tunnels in Norway. And those microbes eat concrete, cause microbial loss, leaching of different chemicals, which can increase the health risk and, of course, increase the cost of maintenance of subsea tunnels. In my project, we are interested to understand this process, why these bacteria are coming to the subsea tunnels or in the concrete, why they eat them, and which microbes influence the water as well, and all air and environment in the tunnel. So this basic knowledge is very important to improve the health and to improve the concrete, such as the material in subsea tunnels.
And I'm Babak, and my contribution is, as a PhD student in Chalmers, is to do environmental and economic assessment of Norwegian road. And what I'm doing is to quantify a balance, in a sense that you can, to what extent you need to have a better performance as an overall figure, that how much you need to have a better environmental performance with respect to economy, and as a whole system when you look at the Norwegian road network.
Hi, I'm Yanyan. I'm working on ship collisions. In the past several decades, what we have been doing is we develop models, numerical models or experiment models, and we do the test, and then we get the method, simplified method. Then we design with the result we got for the capacity of the structure. But what we have been doing is the new thinking. Is this really the correct way to do this? We only consider about the people or the structure on the bridge or in the tunnel. How about the people on the ship and the life below the water, like the fish? So what we have been doing is we develop the model also, and we have to make sure the bridge or tunnel without compromise the safety, but we also reduce the effect to the ship owners, or also people on board, and the life below the water. Yeah.
Yeah. So with respect to my work, it's too small to be shown anywhere in the bit. So you just see a picture of carbon there. So basically, my work deals with designing the material, changing the properties of existing materials to make it more durable and more sustainable. And for this, I work with embedding graphene into materials in order to improve their properties. So, yeah. So we have together worked to see what our primary goals are and what our secondary goals are. And then we have come to a common realization that all 5 of our projects work together in the field of industry innovation and infrastructure, which you just heard us speak about. So that is our primary goal. Now, moving on to the secondary goal, if you look at each of our projects individually, for example, Sabina's projects, you work to improve good health, you work to improve life below water. because you are working with microbes. You're trying to work with prevention of microbes and creating a better environment for people and below the plant. And then you move on to my work and also Babak's work, and then you see number 11, 12, and 13 together, in which you see if you have better materials, if you have much more sustainable material, if you have much more durable materials, which means you are working on designing a more better city. And once you know how to use your material, once you know how efficient you should be, then you're using less materials, which means you're becoming more responsible with the utilization of your material, or in Babak's case, utilization of the whole infrastructure. Similarly, from this, you have a direct and indirect effect on the amount of energy used and so on. So you're directly also acting on climate actions. And then if we move on to the last two works, you see that they work to create better jobs. They work to create better systems for people to work with or people to learn and use. Similarly, if you look at ship coalitions and so on, you cannot just work with one industry. You have to use other industries like maritime law and so on and so forth. So by working, you have to work in partnership with different groups to attain certain goals. So together, this is our common goal. Thank you.
And through our journey of PhD study, we have accumulated lots of knowledge. And this was collection of data, crunching the data, and then try to find models, methods, and so on. And then as our asset, we can say that we have data, we have created data set, models, methods, and materials, which was, as a group, in our group as such, we have such an asset in our group, which can provide or transfer to stakeholders, which are NPRA, governments, university, or research communities, and ourselves, because we have created and compiled these informations and a body of knowledge. So we can, in these kinds of immediate stakeholder, we can consider how our asset can be transferred. And the impact in general can be anyone in the whole system. If you think really closely, we can consider as our results can be impactful to research community, NPRA, and the governments, because they can see what is the potential of our results and output. But in general, it can provide a move in our society or the whole nation-wide, that how they can somehow learn from the results if we scale it up to a full scale. And at the end, thank you.